Hey, it's Lilly Black. If you're a Western man in your 60s or older, there's a good chance retirement doesn't feel like freedom anymore. Back home, you may be paying more than ever for less comfort, less respect, and, if we're being honest, less human warmth. Meanwhile, across the world, there are places in 2026 where your monthly living costs are lower than your old rent, healthcare is easier to access, and women still speak to you like you matter. And yes, there are countries where women approach you first, not because you're a celebrity, but because the culture is still socially open and older men aren't treated as disposable. So let's count them down. Country number 10, Malaysia. You step outside in Penang just after sunset, when the air turns warm instead of hot, and the streets smell like grilled satay and sea salt coming off the coastline. Malaysia is quietly becoming one of the smartest retirement moves in Asia, especially for men who want first-world infrastructure without first-world prices. And unlike some countries in the region, Malaysia is culturally conservative in public, but socially polite and often surprisingly welcoming to older foreigners. Let's get into the practical numbers. In 2026, a comfortable one-bedroom condo in Georgetown, Penang, clean, modern, often with security and a pool, commonly rents in the range of about $400 to $700 a month, depending on the building and whether you're walking distance to the water. In Kuala Lumpur, prices rise in popular expat neighborhoods like Mont Kiara or KLCC, but even there, a one-bedroom can often land around $600 to $1,000 monthly if you rent long-term and avoid luxury towers. Utilities are usually modest. Electricity and water combined often sit around $40 to $80 a month, with your biggest variable being air conditioning usage. Internet is reliable and typically affordable, often under $30 monthly. This matters because Malaysia is one of the few places where you can live digitally modern without paying Western pricing. Now let's talk about food, because food is where Malaysia becomes almost unfair compared to the West. If you eat local, a satisfying meal can be $2 to $4. Even in nicer casual restaurants, you can often eat well for $6 to $12. Groceries are also manageable, particularly if you're not trying to recreate a Western diet every day. Many retirees find they naturally shift into local patterns: fresh produce, rice-based meals, seafood, soups, and grilled meats. You don't feel deprived, you feel lighter. Healthcare is another major advantage. Malaysia has a strong private healthcare system, and many expats use private hospitals for routine care. Consultations can be far cheaper than what you're used to in the United States. In private clinics, a basic visit might run $20 to $40, sometimes less. Bigger hospitals in Kuala Lumpur and Penang are well equipped and used to foreign patients. This is one of those countries where you don't feel like you're begging for care. You're simply a paying customer, and you're treated accordingly. Now, you're not here only to save money. You're here because you want your life to feel human again. So let's talk about the social and dating environment. Carefully, factually, and with dignity. Malaysia is multi-ethnic, mainly Malay, Chinese Malaysian, and Indian Malaysian, and the social norms differ depending on the community. Public behavior is generally modest. You don't get the loud, openly flirtatious nightlife culture that you'd find in Thailand. But that does not mean women are closed off. It means things are more respectful, and the approach is softer. In places like Penang and Kuala Lumpur, you may notice something refreshing. Women make eye contact. They speak politely. They often initiate conversation in normal, everyday ways, asking questions, making comments, offering assistance. This is the kind of approach that matters for older men, because it's not transactional and it's not humiliating. It's social adulthood. The practical dating advantage, for many Western men, is that an older man with stable income and calm behavior stands out positively. If you're respectful, clean, and not trying to behave like a 25-year-old, you can build genuine relationships. Many women in Malaysia still see long-term stability as attractive, not boring. But a warning: Malaysia is not a place for reckless behavior. If you embarrass yourself publicly or disrespect the culture, it can close doors quickly. The men who do best here are the ones who understand that dignity creates access. The lifestyle itself is highly retirement-friendly. Malaysia gives you English usage in many areas, modern malls, solid public transport in Kuala Lumpur, and a safe feeling in many neighborhoods. Penang offers walkable areas, ocean views, and a slower rhythm that suits older men who want peace more than chaos. So if your goal is to retire somewhere warm, modern, affordable, and socially polite with a real chance of companionship, Malaysia deserves a spot on your shortlist. Now from Malaysia, we move to a country that's louder, more direct, and far more openly social, and for many men, even easier for dating. Country number 9, Thailand. You arrive in Chiang Mai in the early morning when the mountains are still blue with haze and the cafes open their shutters to the smell of espresso and street-grilled pork. Thailand is one of the most established retirement destinations on Earth, and in 2026, it's still here for the same reason it always has been. It's easy. Easy to live, easy to eat well, easy to meet people, and, if you carry yourself with basic respect, easy to feel wanted again. And before we go further, let me say this professionally. If you value content like this, factual, calm, and made for men planning real retirement decisions, subscribe to GlobeTales and leave a comment with your age and the country you're considering. Thailand works because it offers multiple retirement modes, and you can choose what fits your personality. If you want quiet, walkable days and cooler evenings, Chiang Mai in the north is still one of the best values in Asia. If you want ocean views and a resort atmosphere, Phuket and parts of Krabi offer that at higher prices. If you want nightlife and heavy expat density, Pattaya is the obvious choice, although it comes with social downsides that I'll address honestly. Let's start with costs. In Chiang Mai, a clean one-bedroom apartment or small condo in areas like Nimenhemen, Santitham, or near the Old City commonly lands around $300 to $600 per month on a longer lease. Newer buildings with pools may push closer to $700. In Bangkok, affordability depends on location. Areas like On Nut can offer a modern condo at roughly $450 to $800 monthly, while central districts rise sharply. In Pattaya, pricing can look similar to Chiang Mai for basic units, but lifestyle costs can spike if you're pulled into the entertainment economy. In Phuket, one-bedroom rentals in desirable areas often sit in the $700 to $1,300 range, especially in high season. Utilities are straightforward. Electricity is the variable due to air conditioning, but many retirees run $50 to $120 monthly for power. Internet is reliable and inexpensive, often around $15 to $30. Food is where Thailand feels like an upgrade. Local meals often cost $2 to $4. Mid-range restaurants can be $6 to $15 per meal. Even when you treat yourself, you rarely feel the shock of a Western bill. And because the cuisine is built around fresh ingredients and smaller portions, many older men report feeling healthier simply from living normally. Healthcare is a major reason Thailand stays on this list. Bangkok has internationally recognized private hospitals, and Chiang Mai has strong medical options as well. A private doctor consultation often runs around $20 to $60. Dental care is widely praised by expats, and routine procedures are far cheaper than in the US, Canada, or the UK. Now let's address women and social life. Thailand is one of the clearest examples of a country where women may approach you first, especially in social environments. But you need to understand the difference between genuine cultural openness and transactional attention. In everyday life, markets, cafes, gyms, you'll often experience a friendliness that Western men aren't used to anymore. People smile, people talk. Women may start conversations without suspicion, especially if you're respectful and calm. After years in the West, that can feel almost unreal. But Thailand also has a large tourism economy, and older foreign men can be targeted, financially and emotionally, if they move blindly. You protect yourself by keeping your life structured: daytime routines, stable neighborhoods, and social circles not built around nightlife. If you're serious about companionship, you do better when you live like a resident, not a tourist. You become a familiar face, build social trust, and let relationships form slowly. Thai culture often values composure and generosity, not loud, flashy behavior. At this point in the video, I'll also mention the GlobeTales free travel guide, linked in the description. It includes checklists for visas, healthcare planning, and how to avoid common mistakes men make when they retire overseas. So why is Thailand better than many first world retirement options? Because your money goes further, daily life is comfortable, and social connection is easier to access. You can eat well, walk more, spend less, and feel visible again. And yet, Thailand is not for everyone. If you need strict order and very quiet streets, it can feel overstimulating, which is why the next country on our countdown surprises many men, because it offers calm, safety, and a polished lifestyle without being emotionally cold. Country number 8, Spain. You walk along the wide coastal promenade in Valencia as retirees sip coffee in the sun and the Mediterranean rolls in quietly, like it has nowhere else to be. Spain is one of the best quality of life per dollar retirements in the developed world, and it's especially attractive if you want the comfort of Europe without the brutal cost structure of places like London, Paris, or many parts of the United States. In 2026, Spain continues to pull in Western men because the lifestyle feels normal again. You walk more, you eat better, you spend less, and you're surrounded by people, not screens. Now, Spain isn't marketed like a bargain basement destination, and that's exactly why it belongs on this list. It's not cheap in the way Southeast Asia is cheap. It's cheaper in the way that matters to a 60-plus retiree: healthcare, transportation, food quality, and social atmosphere. Let's go straight into costs. In Valencia, a city many retirees now prefer over Barcelona, a long-term one-bedroom apartment in a clean, safe district often ranges from about $800 to $200 per month. If you want a newer building near the beach, places around Malvarosa or Patacona, you can push higher. But if you're willing to live 10 to 15 minutes inland, you can get a solid apartment with more space for less. In Malaga and the Costa del Sol, pricing depends heavily on proximity to the sea. A one-bedroom might land around $900 to $1,500, with premium areas higher. In smaller Andalusian cities inland, rents drop dramatically, and a comfortable apartment can still be found under $800. Utilities in Spain are not as cheap as Thailand, but they're still reasonable in retirement terms. Electricity is the main variable, and many retirees budget around $80 to $150 monthly depending on season. Internet is stable and often $30 to $50. Food is where Spain quietly outperforms the West. The Mediterranean diet isn't a trend here, it's routine. Fresh produce, olive oil, seafood, and quality meats are widely available, and even modest grocery shopping feels higher grade than what many men are used to back home. Many retirees spend around $250 to $400 per month on groceries, depending on how often they eat at home. Restaurant culture is also healthier for your wallet than in much of the West. A menu del dia lunch in many cities, starter, main, dessert, and drink, can still be $12 to $18. And because it's normal to sit, talk, and take your time, it creates a social rhythm that older men often miss. Transportation is another reason Spain wins. You don't need a car in the larger cities. The metro and bus systems are functional and affordable, and the national rail network makes it possible to travel across the country comfortably. Many retirees find they simply stop driving. which reduces stress and removes major costs like insurance, repairs, and fuel. Now let's talk about healthcare, because this is one of Spain's strongest arguments against first world retirement in places like the US. Spain has a highly regarded healthcare system, and private insurance for expats is often reasonably priced compared to American premiums. Many retirees use private healthcare initially for speed and English-speaking access, then transition as their residency status changes. A routine private doctor visit may cost something like $50 to $100. Private insurance can vary widely by age and coverage, but many men find it manageable compared to the West. The bigger point is psychological. In Spain, healthcare feels like a normal service, not a financial ambush. Now, women, dating, and social life. Spain is not an approach culture like Thailand. Spanish women are confident and socially fluent, but they are not typically running across the street to flirt with foreign retirees. The advantage here is different, and for a lot of men it's better. In Spain, older men are not treated as embarrassing. You can sit in a cafe alone, read, take your time, and nobody sees it as pathetic. You're part of the landscape. That gives you something many Western men lose after 60, social legitimacy. And because Spain has a strong culture of public life, walking, plazas, casual conversation, meeting people happens naturally. Women may initiate conversation in everyday contexts, especially if you're in social spaces like language exchanges, cooking classes, neighborhood cafes, or dance events. It's not aggressive, it's normal. The dating advantage here is stability. A man who is calm, well-dressed, and financially steady is viewed as serious. If you're looking for companionship rather than chaos, Spain can offer something mature and culturally dignified. Social etiquette matters. Spanish culture values politeness, but also directness. Learn basic Spanish, show respect to staff and older locals, and don't behave entitled. Spain rewards humility. So why is Spain better than much of the first world? Because you live in a modern country with real infrastructure, but your life costs less, your body moves more naturally, and your days feel connected to other humans. Retirement becomes a lived experience again, not an isolated survival plan. And Spain is also a bridge. It gives you Europe, but without forcing you into the harshest European cost structure. Now let's move to a country that many men associate with romance and elegance, but for retirement, the appeal is far more practical than that. Country number 7, France. You sit at a small cafe table in Lyon as the morning traffic hums softly, and the baker across the street pulls fresh bread from the oven like it's the most ordinary thing in the world. France is not a cheap country, and anyone telling you it is either hasn't lived there or they're only counting the price of wine. But in 2026, France remains one of the most strategic retirement choices for Western men who want something many first world nations have quietly lost: public dignity, functioning systems, and daily life that doesn't revolve around consumption. The difference is that France makes you feel like a citizen again, not a customer being harvested. Now, to make France work, you need to think like a retiree, not a tourist. Paris is a global city with global prices, but France is not Paris. The smart retirement play is in smaller cities and well-connected regions where you get the lifestyle without paying the prestige tax. Let's talk numbers. In cities like Lyon, Toulouse, Montpellier, or Nantes, a one-bedroom apartment in a safe, established neighborhood often ranges from roughly $900 to $1,400 per month. In many smaller towns, especially away from the coast, rent can drop closer to $700 to $1,000, sometimes less if you're not insisting on a brand-new renovation. If you want the Mediterranean influence without the extreme price pressure of the Riviera, places like Occitanie or parts of Languedoc can offer a pleasant climate and a calmer pace. The South has a strong retirement culture, but you'll pay more the closer you get to peak coastal zones. Utilities in France are moderate but not trivial. Many retirees budget roughly $120 to $220 monthly for electricity, heating, and water, depending on the building and season. Internet is generally reliable and typically runs around $30 to $45 monthly. Now here's where France surprises men. Food quality. Your grocery bill may not be dramatically lower than the West, but the value is higher. Produce tastes like it should. Bread is real. Cheese and meat quality are consistent. Many retirees find they spend less eating out because the home food experience is genuinely satisfying. A practical grocery budget might land around $300 to $500 monthly, depending on habits and whether you prefer imported items. And eating out can be very reasonable outside the tourist zones. In non-tourist parts of France, you can still get a solid lunch menu, starter, main, sometimes dessert, for $15 to $25. You can sit for an hour, talk, and nobody rushes you. That alone is a kind of luxury. Transportation is another real advantage compared to the US. France is built for movement without a car. Trains are frequent between major cities, and local transit systems are functional. As a retiree, being able to live well without needing to drive is a real quality of life upgrade, especially if you're coming from places where driving has become stressful, dangerous, or financially punishing. Now, healthcare. For older Western men, France is one of the strongest arguments for leaving the US system. The French healthcare model is well regarded, and the broader culture treats medical care as a normal part of life, not as a financial negotiation. Your access will depend on residency status and insurance setup, but the deeper point is that care is available and structured. Even basic interactions matter. You're not treated like a number in a profit machine. You're treated like a human being with a health file. Now, let's move carefully into the social side, because France is often misunderstood by foreign men. French women are not known for approaching first in the same casual way you might see in parts of Asia. But France offers a different kind of advantage for a man in his 60s: social credibility. In many Western countries, aging feels like shrinking. In France, older men remain visible in public life. You'll see older couples walking, older men socializing, older men dressed well, presentable, and respected. The culture doesn't force you to apologize for being older. That changes everything about dating and companionship. Women may not chase you, but they will engage when you are socially competent, especially if you speak some French, dress appropriately, and carry yourself with calm confidence. The best place to meet people here isn't nightlife. It's normal life. Cafes, community events, neighborhood markets, language meetups, cultural clubs, and social friends circles. France is a place where conversation is still a skill, and that plays in your favor if you're mature. One more reality: the French expect social effort. If you learn basic phrases, follow etiquette, and respect privacy, you'll be rewarded. If you act loud, impatient, or entitled, the doors close quickly. So why is France better than what many first world retirees experience back home? Because your life becomes structured, walkable, and culturally rich. You eat better, you move more, and you live in a society that still treats public life seriously. If you're tired of feeling like retirement is a lonely financial puzzle, France can feel like returning to civilization. Now, from France, we move to a country with warmth, beauty, and an almost unmatched sense of everyday pleasure, but with costs that can be surprisingly gentle if you choose the right region. Country number 6, Italy. You step into a small piazza in Lecce at dusk, and the stone buildings glow gold as families drift past slowly, as if nobody is in a hurry to leave their own life. Italy is the kind of country that makes Western men realize something painful. The first world didn't just get expensive, it got emotionally sterile. In 2026, Italy remains one of the best retirement destinations for men who want beauty, real food, and daily human contact, without needing to live like a rich man. Now, Italy can be costly if you aim for the obvious names: Central Rome, the heart of Florence, or the postcard sections of the Amalfi Coast. But Italy isn't one price. The retirement advantage is in the south and in smaller cities where tradition still controls daily life. Let's talk practical locations first. If you want affordability with authenticity, look at Puglia, cities like Lecce, Brindisi, or smaller towns inland. Sicily is another strong contender, with places near Palermo, Catania, or calmer coastal towns that still offer modern essentials. Calabria is cheaper still, though it requires more tolerance for slower bureaucracy and fewer English speakers. In these regions, a long-term one-bedroom apartment can often rent around $600 to $1,000 per month. In smaller southern towns, you may still see $500 to $800 for decent livable spaces. In northern cities like Milan, you can double that quickly and you lose much of the retirement value. Utilities vary by building age. Many older apartments aren't as energy efficient, so winter heating can be the main issue. A reasonable monthly utility budget in much of Italy often lands around $120 to $220, depending on season and usage. Internet is usually workable in cities and many towns, and costs commonly land in the $25 to $45 range. Now let's talk about food, because Italy is one of the rare places where your cost of living can drop while your quality of eating rises dramatically. Groceries in Italy are not cheap, but they are sane. You're not paying inflated prices for low-grade food. Fresh produce, bread, pasta, and local cheeses can keep your diet both enjoyable and affordable. Many retirees spend roughly $250 to $450 per month on groceries, depending on diet and whether you buy imported items. Eating out is where the lifestyle becomes truly retirement-friendly. In smaller cities, a good lunch can still be $12 to $20. A simple pizza and drink may be $10 to $15. And because dining in Italy is cultural, not rushed, you're not pushed out of your chair so the restaurant can flip the table. Healthcare is a serious consideration, and Italy performs better than many men expect. Italy has a national healthcare system, and private options also exist. For expats, access depends on residency and how you register, but the overall reality is this: your healthcare costs are often more predictable than in the US. Many men move here for the emotional relief of not living under permanent medical anxiety. But Italy is more than numbers. It's social dignity. Italian culture is built around public life: walking, plazas, family gatherings, community routines. That matters enormously when you're older, because retirement isn't only about money, it's about whether your days feel empty. Dating and companionship in Italy work differently from Asia. Women generally do not approach foreign men aggressively, but Italy offers something more sustainable: warmth, conversation, and social networks that make meeting people possible without humiliation. Italian women are often direct, but culturally refined. They notice how you dress, they notice your manners, and unlike many Western societies where older men feel erased, Italy still has visible older men living in public, socializing, enjoying life, respected. If you learn even basic Italian, your world opens quickly. You'll find that older local women may be surprisingly open to conversation, especially in smaller communities where people still talk to strangers. The approach here is subtle: a comment, a question, a smile, an invitation into normal life. Social etiquette is important. You are expected to be polite, calm, and properly presented. Loud complaining, especially about how things are done back home, will damage your social standing quickly. But if you behave like a gentleman, Italy gives you a level of social acceptance that many first world countries have forgotten how to offer. So why is Italy better than many Western retirement situations? Because the lifestyle is built for humans. You can walk daily, eat well, and live among people instead of living in isolation. You're not trapped in a high-cost environment where every activity feels monetized. And if companionship matters to you, Italy creates social conditions where connection can develop naturally. Now, from Italy, we move to a retirement destination that many men already know, but don't always understand properly. It's close to the United States, aggressively convenient, and still capable of giving you a better life for less. Country number 5, Mexico. You land in Merida, and the first thing you notice isn't the heat. It's the calm, slow traffic, clean plazas, and older couples sitting outside like time still belongs to them. Mexico is one of the most practical retirement choices in the Western Hemisphere, and in 2026 it remains a top destination for Western men for 3 reasons: proximity, affordability, and social warmth. You're not crossing 12 time zones, you're not learning a completely unfamiliar alphabet, and you can often fly back to the United States in a few hours if family or medical issues require it. But Mexico is also misunderstood, especially by men who only know it through resort tourism or U.S. news headlines. The truth is, Mexico contains multiple realities. Some regions are unstable, some are ordinary, and some are genuinely excellent for retirement. The key is to choose the right city and to live like a resident, not a reckless visitor. Let's start with where retirees actually go. Mérida, in the Yucatan, is one of the most respected retirement cities in Mexico. It's known for relative safety, strong local culture, and a calmer atmosphere than party-focused coastal areas. Lake Chapala and Ajijic, near Guadalajara, remain popular with older expats because of climate and community. Puerto Vallarta offers ocean living and an established expat scene, although pricing has risen. Mexico City can work for retirees who want urban life and world-class services, but it isn't for everyone. Now the costs. In Mérida, a one-bedroom apartment or small house in good condition can often rent around $450 to $800 a month, depending on how central you want to be. In nicer areas like Centro Histórico, Santa Ana, or Santiago, prices climb, but you gain walkability and a richer daily experience. In Lake Chapala, rent varies widely. Some expat-targeted rentals can be overpriced, but you can still find solid long-term options around $600 to $1,000. In Puerto Vallarta and popular coastal pockets, pricing is higher. A one-bedroom condo in a desirable zone can often run $900 to $1,600 monthly, sometimes more if you're near the water. But remember, you don't have to live on the beach to enjoy the beach. Utilities are manageable. Electricity depends on air conditioning, but many retirees budget $40 to $120. Water is cheap. Internet is widely available in cities and often $25 to $50 monthly. Food is one of Mexico's strongest lifestyle advantages. If you eat local, tacos, soups, grilled meats, fresh fruit, you can eat well for $3 to $8 a meal. Even in a comfortable sit-down restaurant, you may spend $10 to $20. Groceries are affordable and produce quality is strong, especially in markets. Many men report their diet improves naturally here because real ingredients are simply easier to access. Healthcare is also a major benefit, and this is where Mexico becomes a serious retirement competitor against the United States. In major cities, private hospitals and clinics are modern, and routine care can be far cheaper than in the U.S. A basic consultation may be $25 to $60. Dental care is a major reason retirees come. Cleanings, crowns, implants can cost a fraction of U.S. pricing. Many men choose Mexico because they want freedom from medical financial fear. Now let's talk social life and dating, because Mexico offers a specific advantage that older Western men often don't expect. You are still treated like a man. Mexican culture is socially expressive. People greet each other, they make conversation, they use eye contact. You don't feel like you're bothering someone just by existing. In many parts of the West, older men become socially invisible. In Mexico, your age is not automatically treated as a liability. Do women approach you first? Sometimes, yes. Not in the aggressive nightlife sense, but in normal life. In markets, cafes, parks, and neighborhood routines, women may start conversations naturally. Many Mexican women are comfortable socially and don't carry the same defensive posture you'll often see in American cities. That creates a warmer, everyday experience for you, even if you aren't chasing romance. But you must be realistic and responsible. Mexico has economic inequality, and some men are targeted because they look like walking money. The best protection is a stable lifestyle, normal neighborhoods, consistent routines, and relationships built over time, not rushed. Social etiquette matters. Mexicans often value politeness, patience, and friendliness. You do not speak down to staff. You do not treat people like servants. If you approach Mexico with arrogance, the experience will turn cold fast. Safety must be addressed honestly. Mexico is not a one-sentence safety situation. Cities like Mérida have strong reputations for safety. Other regions can be risky, especially in areas affected by organized crime. As a retiree, you reduce risk by choosing stable cities, avoiding flashy behavior, not driving long distances at night, and not involving yourself in nightlife scenes where problems concentrate. So why is Mexico better than first world retirement for many men? Because your daily life becomes affordable and socially alive again. Your money goes further, your meals taste real, your healthcare becomes manageable, and your days contain human contact without requiring you to beg for it. Now, from Mexico, we move to a country that has become one of the most popular retirement destinations in Europe, partly for taxes and visas, but mostly for lifestyle. Country number 4, Portugal. You watch the Atlantic roll into the Algarve as the light turns soft and golden, and the entire town seems built for long walks and slow evenings. Portugal has become one of Europe's most desirable retirement destinations, and in 2026, it's still attracting Western men for the same core reason. It offers European stability without European stress. It's calm, clean, generally safe, and structured in a way that makes daily life easier, especially if you're coming from a country where retirement feels like constant financial pressure. Portugal also holds a special position on this countdown because it gives you first world systems while quietly being better than parts of the first world itself. Walkable cities, public civility, better food quality per dollar, and healthcare access that doesn't feel like a punishment. Let's talk locations, because Portugal is not one experience. If you want city life with real infrastructure, Porto is the stronger value compared to Lisbon. Lisbon is beautiful, but it has become expensive by Portuguese standards and increasingly crowded. If you want coastal retirement without turning your life into permanent tourism, the Algarve remains popular, especially towns like Lagos, Tavira, and parts of Faro. Many men also retire in Coimbra or Braga for a slower pace and lower costs. Now the costs. In Porto, a one-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood commonly runs around $850 to $1,250 a month in 2026, depending on building condition and walkability. In Lisbon, comparable units often start closer to 1,100 and can easily reach 1,800 in prime areas. In the Algarve, rents fluctuate seasonally, but long-term rentals in smaller towns can still land around 900 to 1,400, with beachfront premium zones higher. Utilities tend to be moderate. Many retirees budget around $100 to $180 monthly, depending on air conditioning and winter heating. Internet is reliable and typically $30 to $45. Food is one of Portugal's strongest everyday wins. Groceries are affordable for Europe, and the quality is high. Many retirees spend around $250 to $450 per month depending on diet. Seafood is widely available, and produce is fresher than what many men are used to in the U.S. Restaurant culture is also kind to retirees. A simple lunch menu can still be $10 to $18, and coffee culture is cheap enough that you can comfortably build daily routines around it. Healthcare is a major reason Portugal keeps climbing in retirement rankings. Portugal has a public healthcare system, and many expats also carry private insurance for faster access and English-speaking services. Private insurance costs vary with age, but the overall experience, especially compared to the United States, is that care is obtainable and not treated like a luxury product. Now let's talk about social life and companionship. Portugal is not as loudly social as Mexico, and it's not as openly flirtatious as Thailand, but it offers something many older men crave: peace without loneliness. The culture supports public life, walking, cafes, community rhythms. You are not treated like an inconvenience for taking up space. Do women approach you first? Occasionally, yes, especially in expat-heavy areas where locals are used to foreigners and more comfortable initiating conversation. But Portugal's approach tends to be subtle: a smile, a polite question, a small conversation that feels normal. For many men, that subtlety is exactly what makes the experience dignified. The practical dating advantage here is that older Western men often present as stable and serious, and Portuguese culture still respects stability. If you learn basic Portuguese, keep yourself well dressed, and act like a gentleman, you'll find that people respond warmly. So why is Portugal better than much of the first world? Because it offers modern safety and structure, but it doesn't crush you with costs or social coldness. Your days become walkable, affordable, and calmer. And retirement stops feeling like decline. It starts feeling like life again. Now, from Portugal, we move to a country that is famous for beauty and nature, but also known for being one of the most emotionally restorative retirement environments in the Americas. Country number 3, Costa Rica. You wake in the Central Valley just outside San Jose, where the air is cool in the morning and the hills are covered in green that looks almost unreal. Costa Rica has a reputation in the retirement world that is both deserved and sometimes simplified. People talk about it like it's purely a nature destination, as if retirement means sitting in the jungle watching monkeys. But for Western men in 2026, Costa Rica's real advantage is stability. It has long been one of the more politically stable countries in the region. It has a strong eco-conscious national identity, and it attracts a kind of expat community that is generally older, calmer, and more lifestyle-focused than purely nightlife-oriented. If Mexico is a social and cultural immersion, Costa Rica is often a reset. A place where your nervous system finally stops bracing for bad news. Now, Costa Rica is not the cheapest country in Latin America. In fact, it can surprise retirees with prices that feel closer to parts of the United States than they expected. But what you're buying is quality: clean air, greenery, stronger environmental standards, and a lifestyle built around movement and sunlight. Let's talk locations first. Most retirees gravitate toward the Central Valley, areas like Escazú, Santa Ana, Atinas, Grisha, and parts of Heredia, because the climate is mild, healthcare access is easier, and the infrastructure is better. Coastal regions like Tamarindo, Nosara, Jacó, or the southern zone around Dominical attract men who want beach life, but prices there rise sharply, and services can be less consistent. Now the cost realities. In the Central Valley, a one-bedroom apartment or small home rental can often run around $700 to $2,200 per month in desirable expat-friendly neighborhoods. In high-demand areas like Escazú or Santa Ana, you can easily see $1,100 to $1,800 for modern units with security and amenities. Coastal rentals vary wildly by season and proximity to tourist hubs, but it's common for beach towns to cost more than inland living. Utilities are manageable but not minimal. Many retirees budget around $70 to $150, depending on electricity, internet, and whether you run air conditioning. Internet is generally good in the Central Valley and increasingly available in coastal zones, but reliability can vary. Food is a mixed picture. If you eat like a local, rice, beans, eggs, plantains, simple meats, you can keep costs down. Casual local meals can still run around $5 to $10. But imported goods and Western-style restaurants add up quickly. A retiree who wants wine, steaks, and U.S. brand products will spend more here than expected. Many expats budget roughly $350 to $550 monthly for groceries, depending on diet. Healthcare is one of Costa Rica's strongest arguments. Costa Rica has both public and private healthcare options, and private clinics in San Jose are used to expats. Many routine consultations can land around $50 to $90 privately, with costs varying by clinic and specialty. The deeper benefit is access. You can get care without the same psychological sense of financial threat many men feel back home. Now let's talk about social life and the question that matters to many viewers: companionship. Costa Rica is polite, warm, and socially calmer than Mexico. People are friendly, but they're not always as outwardly expressive. The culture leans toward respect and quiet kindness. Women may approach you first in everyday contexts, especially in places with high expat interaction, but it's rarely aggressive. It's normal conversation, not a performance. For many older Western men, that's ideal. You're not being sold a fantasy. You're being treated like a person. The dating environment also depends heavily on where you live. In tourist towns, you can encounter transactional behavior. In the Central Valley, relationships tend to be more grounded, and many women are looking for stability, reliability, and maturity. If you're calm, respectful, and financially steady, you can build real companionship. Etiquette is important here. Costa Rica values humility. If you behave loudly, show off money, or complain constantly, you will not be embraced. But if you show respect for the culture and the environment, people respond positively. So why is Costa Rica better than much of the first world? Because it offers emotional relief. Your life becomes quieter, you spend more time outdoors, you sleep better, you move more naturally, you are surrounded by greenery instead of concrete and hostility. It may not be the cheapest, but for many men, it feels like the healthiest. Now, from Costa Rica, we move to a country that is almost engineered for retirement, one that offers real financial advantages specifically designed for older foreigners. Country number 2. Panama. You walk along the Cinta Costera in Panama City as the skyline reflects off the bay, and the ocean breeze makes even a modern capital feel breathable. Panama is one of the most retirement-engineered countries in the world. In 2026, it remains a top choice for Western men because it offers something rare: a government that openly competes for retirees. It's not subtle. The country has built policies, discounts, and residency incentives designed to attract foreign pensioners, and for many men, that translates into a cleaner, simpler retirement strategy than trying to patch together an expensive life back home. Panama also has one major geographic advantage. It is a bridge country. You're connected to North and South America, flights to the United States are straightforward, and the time zone alignment makes it easier to stay connected to family without feeling like you live on another planet. Now let's talk about what matters: where you live, what it costs, and what daily life feels like. The two main retirement modes in Panama are Panama City and Boquete. Panama City is for men who want modern infrastructure: high-rise condos, private hospitals, upscale grocery stores, real shopping malls, and a walkable waterfront. If you enjoy feeling plugged into the modern world, this is where Panama feels most first world. Boquete, up in the Chiriquí Highlands, is for men who want cooler weather and a slower rhythm. It has long been a magnet for retirees who don't want heat year-round and prefer green hills over concrete. Cost-wise, Panama still performs well in 2026, although prices have risen in popular expat zones. In Panama City, A modern one-bedroom condo in neighborhoods like El Cangrejo, Obarrio, San Francisco, or Punta Paitilla often ranges from about $900 to $1,600 per month, depending on building age, view, and amenities. If you choose a slightly older building or live a bit farther from the prime zones, you can still find solid long-term rentals under 2,100. In Boquete, rent can vary widely because the expat market has influenced pricing, but many retirees land around $700 to $1,300 for a comfortable one-bedroom or small house. If you want a garden and more space, prices climb, but you also get a lifestyle that feels almost like European countryside, just in the tropics. Utilities are manageable. Electricity depends on air conditioning in the city, but many retirees budget around $60 to $150. Internet is stable in Panama City and reasonably good in Boquete, often around $30 to $50 monthly. Food costs depend on how you eat. If you eat locally, rice plates, chicken, soups, fresh fruit, you can keep meals around $4 to $8. Mid-range dining in Panama City often costs more than Mexico or Thailand, but still less than major U.S. cities. Many retirees budget roughly $350 to $600 monthly for groceries, depending on imported items. Now, healthcare. This is one of Panama's strongest reasons for being near the top of this countdown. Panama City has modern private hospitals and clinics used to international patients. Many Western men choose Panama because they can access private healthcare at predictable prices. A basic private consultation may run around $40 to $80, and specialists can cost more, but the overall system tends to be clearer and less financially punishing than what many men experienced in the United States. Panama's advantage is not only the care, it's the feeling of control. You are not negotiating your health like it's a loan product. Now we have to discuss the famous retirement incentive, the Pensionado program. If you qualify, it can provide significant discounts on things retirees actually use: transportation, entertainment, utility bills, and sometimes medical services. It's one of the most direct, retiree-friendly programs in the world, and it's a major reason Panama stays highly ranked year after year. Now let's talk about women and the social atmosphere. Panama is not as openly flirtatious as Thailand, and it's not as socially outgoing as Mexico, but it is warmer than much of the West. People speak, greet, and interact more naturally. In Panama City, especially in mixed social spaces, cafes, malls, waterfront walkways, women may approach you first in casual conversation, particularly if you look calm, well-kept, and not intoxicated or desperate. The tone is more polite than playful. In Boquete, the social environment is smaller and more community-driven. If you join activities, walking groups, language exchanges, church networks, volunteer events, you'll find social access. And in a smaller community, your reputation matters. If you behave respectfully, you become known quickly, and relationships can form naturally. Etiquette in Panama is simple. Be polite, don't show off, and treat people like equals. Older Western men who do best here are the ones who appreciate the culture rather than trying to dominate it. So why is Panama better than much of the First World? Because Panama is functional. It offers structure, discounts, modern healthcare access, and lifestyle choices, from sleek city living to cool mountain calm, at a cost that can still be below your old rent. And now we arrive at the #1 country in 2026 for Western men looking for real retirement value, real companionship potential, and a lifestyle that feels older, wiser, and more human. Country #1, Greece. You sit beside the water in Thessaloniki as the evening lights reflect off the bay, and the city hums with conversation. Not noise, conversation, like people still remember how to live in public. Greece takes the #1 spot in 2026 because it delivers the rare combination that Western retirees usually have to choose between: a beautiful lifestyle, affordable daily living, strong social warmth, and the kind of human-scale culture that makes older men feel visible again. This is not fantasy, it's cultural structure. In Greece, older men still have a place. You can sit in a cafe for hours, not because you're camping at a table, but because that's how life works. You walk, you talk, you sit. You're part of the community rhythm. And for many men watching this, that alone is a deeper upgrade than any luxury condo. Now let's be practical, because Greece has different retirement zones depending on what you want. Athens is the most convenient if you want hospitals, big city services, and international access. But Athens is not only one experience. Many retirees choose areas that are quieter but still connected. Neighborhoods like Koukaki, Pangrati, or parts of Glyfada and the Athens Riviera if you want sea access. Thessaloniki is another strong retirement pick. It's lively, walkable, culturally rich, and generally less intense than Athens. Then you have islands and island-like living, which is where many men imagine Greece. Crete is the smartest long-term island retirement option because it's large, has hospitals, airports, real supermarkets, and towns with year-round life. Heraklion, Chania, Rethymno. Smaller islands are stunning, but many become quiet in winter. Now the numbers. In Athens, a one-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood can often range from about $650 to $1,100 a month in 2026, depending on renovation quality and exact location. In Athens Riviera zones, you'll pay more, but you're buying sea air and walkability. Thessaloniki often provides better value, with many one-bedroom rentals in the $550 to $950 range. On Crete, especially outside the most tourist-saturated coastal pockets, you can still find long-term rentals that feel surprisingly affordable for Europe, often $500 to $900 for comfortable apartments, depending on proximity to the sea and seasonality. Utilities are reasonable. Many retirees budget around $90 to $170 monthly, depending on air conditioning and heating. Internet is generally stable in cities and major islands. Now let's talk food, because Greece is one of the best examples of better living for less. Local markets offer fresh produce, olives, cheeses, bread, and seafood that tastes like it should. Groceries are manageable for Europe, and restaurant eating is still one of Greece's great lifestyle gifts. A satisfying local meal can often be $10 to $18, sometimes less outside prime tourist zones. If you're coming from the West, you'll notice that eating out doesn't feel like a financial mistake. It feels like normal life. Healthcare in Greece is also a major retirement advantage compared to the United States. There is public healthcare and a strong private sector. Many expats use private clinics for speed and convenience. Costs vary, but the overall pattern is predictable. You can access routine care without fearing financial catastrophe. Now, the social and dating environment. This is where Greece becomes uniquely powerful for older Western men. Greek culture is socially expressive. It's not cold. People talk, people argue, people laugh. Life happens outdoors. That matters because many Western men retire into a form of quiet social disappearance. Greece does the opposite. It makes social presence normal again. Do women approach you first? More than you might expect in Europe? Yes, especially in casual social environments. Not in a desperate or performative way, but in everyday human conversation. Greek women are often confident, direct, and socially comfortable. In cafes, small shops, and neighborhood routines, women may speak to you naturally. Many men interpret this as flirting. Sometimes it is. Often it's simply cultural openness. But here's the deeper advantage. Greece respects older men who behave well. If you dress decently, speak calmly, and show interest in the culture, you won't be treated like an outsider forever. You can build real connection. And because family values still matter in Greece, many women view stability and maturity as positive traits, not as something to mock. Etiquette matters. Greeks respond to warmth, greet people, say thank you, don't act rushed. Don't treat Greece like it exists for your convenience. If you do the opposite, if you show patience and respect, you'll be rewarded socially. So why is Greece better than much of the first world? Because it gives you dignity, it gives you public life, it gives you food that supports your health and happiness, and it gives you a realistic chance at companionship in a culture where social interaction is still normal, especially for men who are older, calmer, and steady. Now, before we close, here's the summary you need to hear clearly. If you are retiring in 2026 and you want to live well, you must stop thinking only in terms of cost. Think in terms of value, what your money buys you emotionally, socially, and physically. Malaysia gives you modern Asia with politeness and comfort. Thailand gives you social energy and strong medical options. Spain gives you European livability with warmth. France gives you structure and public dignity. Italy gives you beauty and humanity. Mexico gives you closeness and social warmth. Portugal gives you calm stability and everyday ease. Costa Rica gives you emotional reset and greenery. Panama gives you retirement engineering and practical incentives. And Greece gives you the most complete balance: cost, lifestyle, warmth, and dignity. If you want, comment the country you're considering and what your monthly budget is. It helps other men see what's realistic. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment to do it. GlobeTales is built for men who want the truth, not the fantasy. I'm Lilly Black, and I'll see you in the next documentary.